Okay, we're
It's
still
okay.
waiting
I don't have a,
for them.
and yes, and I don't have a screen, Brian. So we're 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 working it all out.
Well, we can hear, that's what's critical, and hopefully you can see any screen that Jeff or Pam puts up.
Yeah, you guys all look lovely. I'm sorry, I can't be there in video with you.
I was thinking to myself tonight, to me, the end of COVID will be when this little camera over my desk disappears. I don't think that, frankly, because we've gotten so used to it, will ever happen.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. I will say I'm starting to come around to the idea that the benefits do outweigh the downsides just
Yeah.
in terms of, but there are definitely downsides.
Well, one
It
of
may
the
not be the best.
upsides of the Randall Arendt meeting was I finally met my fellow board members on the planning board in 3 dimensions.
It is weird to not have that in person
Yeah.
experience.
Are
Still.
there people are there people that we're expecting can make it?
Well, I'm hoping Ed was going to make it.
Is Penny
Ed has made it.
Oh, good.
And Penny, I understood, was going to make it.
I don't know if you saw, I texted you both earlier because I was stuck in traffic, but I didn't hear back from her, so.
Okay, well, Brian, can you text her again, Penny, and see
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay, let's wait 1 minute and then get on with it.
We do have a quorum now, though, right?
Yep,
Yes.
but if we're going to have somebody else coming in, and I assumed that she would come in and that Ed would come in, and he has. Okay, why don't we, if Brian's doing that text, hopefully Penny will pick it up and get on. So why don't we get on with the basic administrative aspects? This is the Bolton Master Plan Steering Committee meeting, a remote meeting of June 27th at 7 p.m. And the first agenda item is review and approval of the June 17th minutes. And again, Ken, thank you very much for this being probably what, the 48th or 50th set of meeting minutes. Thank you.
Who knows? We can just publish them as an appendix to the master plan. But before you vote, I'm trying to find it. Stasha made a suggestion and I incorporated a change in a word that I wanted to get across, but I haven't found it yet. So
Stasha, do you recall what it was?
It was just a grammatical.
Okay, but not a substantive change to the minutes.
oh no, it wasn't substantive at all, but I wanted to incorporate it, so
Okay, so
let me see. I think okay, I've got it. I believe I have it here.
okay, so assuming it's
Okay.
just a grammatical issue,
Okay.
I would
Okay, so let's see. Let me bring the minutes up to see if I can find it. There was something about clarify, except that I didn't write clarify, but then I changed it after she pointed out the problem. So let me find that.
Oh, I'm back. I just got almost kicked off. I'm so sorry. Jeepers creepers.
okay. Annie's not going to make it. Everybody saw that.
Okay, it's in the paragraph, in the second paragraph where it says that Jeff brought up my comments about the introduction, it says that Bob mentioned figure 1 about the conversion of land and that he thought town boundaries should be included for what I wrote was, I think, clarify,
Clarify.
but what it should have been was, it should have been clarity. And so I changed clarify to clarity.
Okay.
So it should be included for clarity. And so that's, so I would like you to include that change in what you vote on for the minutes.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So
as-
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Second. Aye. Aye.
All in favor? I heard
Aye.
one.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Appreciate it. Any,
Thank you, Ken.
well, there obviously aren't any more abstentions. Okay, let's move on. Finalized comments. Jeff, you had just sent out an email recently identifying some additional changes that you had made. Do you want to walk through those?
Sure. Yeah. There were some additional comments that Ken had provided, and to the testament of this group, I mean, none of them were substantive. There were a lot of like clarifying type of comments, and I think that's really great. So, what I had prepared to do was walk through all of them, but I don't know if you wanted to do that. But before I get lost in sharing the screen, I just have a little list. So if you don't mind, I'll go over the list of the changes that are in that, like in the final plan here.
Okay,
And then
that'd
we
be
can
great.
dive in as you guys wish. But there was a cover paragraph for the implementation. Actually, sorry, cover page. So there was a graphic for the implementation chapter, which
Right.
we created. There was a introductory sentence or two added for the implementation matrix itself, just to describe
Mhm.
how it works and how it was formulated. There were several areas where there were a couple map descriptions added within the text of the plan. And then I basically created a cover page for the maps, and it listed all the maps, and it was very succinct, brief, summary of what the map is, but I tried to keep the sort of the grammar all the same, so it just shows that or shows the area, just to give a quick description of each map, and then that'll precede, the whole map package.
I think it was very valuable, incidentally.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I thought it
great,
was
and I
very
think it is really helpful for someone who just wants to click into those maps. There's an actual list of
Okay.
and a quick description of them. So those are great comments. Then the rest of it were some changes to the executive summary, and then some, I incorporated the town officials that Pam had provided in that PDF, so I transcribed those out into this Word file. And then the last set were sort of some fine tuning of language that Ken had picked up throughout the whole report. Pretty minor, but important for the reader kind of aspect. And then the two outstanding things, as you guys were talking about that the minutes, the figure 1, the boundary, showing the town boundary on one of those maps, I forgot about that. So I apologize, but I'm gonna include that with wherever we land on that farm stand map, and BSC group can do those fine tune on the two maps. That's pretty straightforward. But I do apologize because I forgot to flag that.
Okay, appreciate it. It was just difficult to understand where Bolton ended.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It made sense in the last meeting. You guys picked up on that. So does it make sense? Do you want me to go through quickly and just go over the red lines that are in that document?
Yeah, I would. I think, I mean, it provides everything in context.
Great. So I'll start with the executive summary. And this should be the same version that I sent.
Right.
The committee has seen, but I kept it in red line just because it was a little bit easier, and I figure we're down to the end. This was one of the specific pages that had a couple edits, was an introduction to the data that's in the Bolton at a glance graphic. And I see Sasha has her hand raised. I'm gonna stop for a sec.
Yeah, well, finish what you were saying, but I definitely have a question about this page.
This page. Okay, yeah. So and then the paragraph at the bottom is just to provide sort of a summary of what's to follow, those one-page summaries, to provide the reader with key goals, key findings, and the recommendations. And then each of the chapters has the additional data information, a full list of actions. And then this was kind of one of the first attempts to restate the core values, the community opportunity, mobility, and sustainability, and then that reappeared later in the actual master plan itself. So I think with that, I can pause for Sasha's question.
Okay, thank you so much. I just two quick things. One is on the very first paragraph, the second sentence. It says a full review of the data can be reviewed in the existing conditions report. So super minor suggestion would be can be found in the existing conditions report. So
Sure.
we're not using the word reviewed twice.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Cool, no problem. And then the second question was just under that, the land section where you show the total land area, and I love that it's in miles and in acres. And then we have three kind of key data points. One of them is acres and two of them are percentages. And I'm wondering if it would make sense for consistency to have them either all acres or all percentages, or if there's a reason that we've kept one as acres and the others as percentages.
That's a great, I don't know. I wasn't here for that part. Like I wasn't here when that chart got created. We can do it. I'm
Well, I
sure
can
we-
send it out to the group too, like in for you guys to just, I remember having a conversation on Jeff, this was probably again before you, so I didn't, forgive me for interjecting, but just to get you off the hot seat, about like having consistency of some of these statistics. I know that 1,136 acres is 8.8% of that 1,280 or 12,800 acres. So I don't know if, do we want to just put a percentage in there, or I don't know if anybody else has a comment as to why we have them both ways, or if it matters.
Oh, I definitely think it should all be percentage.
Okay, then it is, I think based on my calculations, it's 8.875, but if we're rounding up, it'll be 8.88%.
Okay,
That's under the conservation area one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I just added that in there, and so I think, so you don't want to have any reference to the acres in that section for the conservation area?
I
yeah,
don't,
take it out, so it's
Okay.
consistent with the other three.
Yeah. It's more
Yeah.
important to be
Right, it was
consistent.
more about consistency.
and if you go in and can look at other towns, you'll see that they generally provide it in terms of percentage of town acreage.
Much
Okay.
more meaningful, right?
That's helpful, yeah. That was
Great.
it for me.
Yeah, that's very helpful. That's the kind of thing you don't catch after you've been staring at this for so long.
I was gonna say,
Or-
I get
Understood.
that.
Great. So then Ken had really good input on this, basically just making the recommendations all the same sort of grammar, same introductory kind of language. So there, this last on this is the land use recommendation. And so the suggestion was just take out the statement and just leave it to continue to engage in land preservation. And so these are pretty consistent with just kind of stating the actual recommendation. Just a small typo, it's really small typos. A couple of them I didn't capture in red line, but most of them I did. Some grammatical changes. This was to par down the reference to a nickname. Really just kind of took out the nickname reference here, which I thought was a good suggestion.
Does the Apple Country sentence read correctly?
Let's see.
I think it's missing a verb. Often called Apple Country.
Called is in
That's
there.
in there.
Called is,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
so sorry. I didn't see that.
No,
Thank you.
no, it's good. This is good.
Yep, yep.
I appreciate that. And
Jeff,
there
can
would
you
be,
scroll back up for 1 sec? Oh, sorry.
yep, no, it's fine.
Up to housing, just super duper quick. It's probably, I'm sure you fixed it. I just want to, I have one thing on housing, all the way up to the top. Yeah. Oh, okay. So see where it says ensure, then you have to get rid of that next E that's stuck to the letter or the word new.
Oh,
That's
sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Very good.
While we're going into details.
Yep.
All right, thank you. That's it.
I mean, this is why I do give you guys a lot of credit, because this is where we're at. It's just making these really fine tuning, changes, and that's a testament to all your guys' hard work before I got here. So, again, it is recommended that the town is take it out and rather just put pursue, just to be an active kind of verb. This was, I guess, a little bit substantive, but this was all through email and sent as suggestions. Just to change kind of the explanation of what happens with limited water supply. The conclusion is that the lack of public water and sewer infrastructure limits the town's ability to accommodate new growth. So that was all kind of vetted, I think, by the committee.
Okay.
Again, just making the recommendation and a verb there. And that was really it. So for the executive summary, the changes were pretty straightforward. I mean, from my perspective, I think.
That acronym is underlined in red. EOEEA.
Yes. So what I will do in my final sweep is I'll go through and make sure that those they ignore those so they don't show up on any PDFs.
Okay.
That's the Executive Office of Environmental
Energy
yeah. I don't even know what it is. Environment, energy, and
Office, Energy and Environment. It's the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you.
Perfect. Look like one too many E's. Okay.
I see a question. We want to take that now?
Yeah, that's me
Okay.
again. I'm sorry. So I think I have two more. I don't want to dominate this conversation. So if others have things to say, I can wait. I had two more things that I just noticed. Does anybody else want to go first? I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, it's all you.
It's okay. All right. Transportation number 7.
Mhm.
The first goal, I think there's just a typo.
Yes, there is. To alleviate. Yep.
You got it.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
really good.
And then,
For some reason,
was
some of those little things are not showing up in spell check, so that's great.
oh, good, cool. Yeah, that's just I don't know. That's my
The teacher in you.
right? I guess so. So my last thing though, I just realized this, and I don't know. This is a bigger picture question for the group. If you go back to the Bolton at a glance chart that we just modified to the percentages, I'm noticing under housing, we may want to put an asterisk under the percent of rented occupied, that statistical number, or that 6%, because assuming, and I know it hasn't been built yet, and so these statistics make sense because the subsidized housing inventory, because we permitted those 229 units, they're showing on our subsidized housing inventory. However, they haven't been built yet. And when they are built, that percentage of renter occupied units is going to go way up. And so it may, in the sense that this is a document that stands for the test of time.
Oh,
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. You're talking about the percent renter occupied, which is currently at 6%, right?
I would have.
Oh, you're kind of coming in and out there, Stasha.
breaking up.
My interpretation was that she was talking about the second line on the subsidized inventory showing at 15.25%. And that perhaps needs to have more information down in the footnote there that indicates that includes things that haven't been built yet. Approved but not yet built. Is that what you were talking about, Stasha?
Oh,
I don't know, we may have lost more on that, but I thought that's what she was talking about. But-
Yeah, I believe that is what she's
But you
talking.
could also be right. I don't know.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm sorry.
Now we can.
Yeah, now we
Now
can.
we can.
God.
You
I'm
were
so
out for a bit.
sorry. I'm so sorry. And now, and here I am thinking you're hearing what I'm saying. I super apologize, you guys. So the total number of housing units is 1,982. I'm 229 in and of itself. I think is going to be over the 6%, which made me look at that renter occupied number and go, ooh, that's low. And so it's just a recalculation or maybe an asterisk that says this number will increase to such and such a percent when this housing complex goes in, or when, when these 229 units are built. I don't know if we want to put that much detail in, but it seems weird to not have the context where you've got it. What it looks like if you were to snapshot this page is, oh, we've got 15.25%, like we're golden, and only 6% of that is renter occupied, which is not the case.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're on the same page because basically, because the 15.25% already incorporates data for units that are going to be built but aren't yet occupied, that one is high, but the renter occupied number is still sort of artificially low because it's a snapshot as of now. So I do think we should probably just put a little asterisk next to the 6% or a footnote next to the 6% that simply says this percentage will increase significantly after the approved units are actually occupied. Something like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so sorry.
No, it's a great point. I totally get what you're saying.
Nothing to be sorry about.
Well, my computer's cutting in and out, and I apologize for that inconvenience.
Can we just go over that one more? If you guys can see, I want to try to capture some of the edits now, but so under footnote 2, would it be accurate to say includes units permitted but not built?
Yeah, permitted but not yet built.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
I would say approved.
okay.
You mean approved but not yet built?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Okay. And just because I'm afraid to fiddle with the footnotes right now, the numbers, I will do that offline. But for now, it's an asterisk. But then this figure, which is the 6%, will increase.
Yeah, I would say this figure will increase when approved but not built units are ultimately occupied.
Well, for consistency, is there a way that we can project what that 6% will be to be consistent with the inventory?
I
It
would
seems like
just,
simple math. Go ahead.
I mean, all those numbers are fluctuated since we've even created this table. I would just do the footnote for now. And we can note the number of units in the
But
footnote.
you could just flip it around and simply say that the 6% only deals with apartments that have been built. Period. Or, rental properties that have been
Well,
built.
and it says, you're right, it says occupied there, so maybe that's okay.
No, or does not
It's
include
just a glaring,
approved but not built.
Yeah, but it seems to
It
me
is
that we ought
talked
to
about
have,
in the housing chapter and mention that they're approved and not built in the chapter itself.
well,
think-
it seems to me whatever we do in under housing, that those statistics ought to be consistent.
Agreed.
So if
Right.
we're going to include the inventory, include those rental apartments in the inventory, we should include what they will be projected to be with a note that have not yet been occupied, and take out the percent renter occupied or something like that. I mean, it's just the statistics are inconsistent.
Well, but they're not wrong in the sense that it's a nuance of the way that data gets reported from the state, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm in the weeds too much here, guys. If for people who are just looking at the numbers to try to make big picture decisions for the town, it seems like we at least want to just mention the inconsistency of what's showing on the subsidized housing inventory. And it's
Well-
not that it's inconsistent, it's just that there's a delay of the building part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we change the footnote then, 100% renter occupied, and say, as we discussed before, does not include renter or approved rental units
Yes,
indicated
Yes, that have
in
not
the
been built.
subsidizing housing industry.
perfect.
Okay,
Right.
Yep.
Now, do the two lines are they supposed to add up? Because they don't.
What's
You have owner occupied at 96 and renter occupied at 6, which adds up to 102, I believe. And so are you talking about two different things?
2% of them are both
maybe
the
the
renter
key-
and owner.
Maybe the thing that should be done is to put that information about the fact that it isn't built yet in the footnote that relates to the subsidized housing inventory and completely remove the percentage rental occupied, because otherwise it adds up to more than 100% anyway.
But it
Well,
is
I guess-
reported by the state, like the census, it's easy to find those numbers in the census and they've got them listed at the bottom.
Well, how does it add up to more than 100% then?
Because like you said, there's probably a nuance in there where something's owned and rented. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but there were other, I looked at this chart ad nauseum and I noticed that there were certain things like the total number of housing units versus what is occupied versus what is seasonal versus full year. There were a whole bunch of
Okay.
things when you go in there. So I'm not surprised to see it not add up, is what I'm saying. It's worth a double check on. I did double check all of these numbers at one point. I don't know why that one is not in my memory. Who created this chart? I did not
I would-
create this chart, although I
No,
have a
I
lot
would
to say.
imagine that. Well, yeah, unless it was someone in your group. Yeah, I don't know if BSC pulled together the data. I had a question. What we're talking about is that right now there's two projects that were permitted?
one?
One very large one,
And
for
what
our
was the
town.
number? What was the number of units?
229.
Because what I was going to suggest, and I would just throw this out there, but that's one project that that got permitted and not built. It may never get built. I don't know, Pam, if you are in touch with them. But in a matter of a couple years, 2 years, let's say, even, you could have more units, and
Right.
the data's already going to be kind of needing to be refreshed. So, kind of looking at it from once removed, I kind of think the 229 units approved but not built is really important to just flash here. And then the 6% does not include that. But after that, this plan does roll out for a bunch of years. It could be the data is going to shift.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think there's no way to capture all those potential changes. It's good to note that you have a 229 unit project that was approved, at this glance. And then this is the type of data that, depending on when you go to the planning board with it, if you have any more approved housing units by then, you would want to note it. But otherwise, it's kind of a difficult thing to track in real time. So that's how I would split it up. But
Jeff, are
It's just for
you
discussion.
so you're saying includes the 229 units approved but not yet built? Just leave it at that.
right, and then the 6% would
Just
be
leave it.
this figure. Well, actually, you could put a
No.
note there, just like that. The asterisk is this figure will increase when the approved but not yet built units are occupied. I just think it's after the 229 units, it's going to be hard to have that data be accurate.
Right.
if that makes sense. I was just trying
I support that approach. I think you just have to add the word units.
Yep.
Yep, after built.
Yeah.
Because that's about like that's about the glance that you guys get with the data.
Yep.
And then next year, if you get more projects, it's already going to be a little bit, needing to be updated.
And right, and whoever's doing that will obviously talk to Pam and there'll be a fresh set of eyes looking at it. But I appreciate what you just did there because it just felt like it begged explanation. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
And especially if you know you have that big of a project that got permitted. I mean, I don't mean to be skeptical, but like you never know a project.
No, it's a very good point.
It could take years to get built. So
Or never get built. So at
Well,
least
and it's
here
already-
you're seeing why it was 15.25. And if it drops back down below because they don't build them and that permit expires, then that's the explanation.
Okay, so the footnote explains that under the 6%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's leave it at that.
great.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Jeff. I'm sorry. That was a lot of
Don't be
talking.
sorry. It's good. This is the time to do it.
It's the last chance.
I know. I
Sort,
kind of
sort
feel
of,
like I
right?
wanna
Because
go
you guys are
Bills.
still gonna go, so you guys might still find stuff, but last chance for now. Okay, so if we are ready, we'll go into the master plan itself. And this one, it's hopefully it won't make anyone too dizzy or anything, but it's a lot of little changes.
Jeffrey, did you get the fire chief's name was wrong? I flagged it in the Google Drive, but I don't know if you got it.
No, I didn't.
You have Jeffer, it's Jeffrey.
Oh, it's Jeffrey, right?
Very good. I will check that before I
Yeah.
wrap
Jeff-
everything up. I was having a hard time with the Google Drive. For some reason, it was not working for me.
Yeah, quite a few people were. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Just one quick note, kind of globally, is I will go back through and update the table of contents. I was kind of waiting. It's very finicky. So I was waiting until we get all the way through to just make that update. Let's see. Real small grammatical change in the first paragraph there. And then I did want to just touch on this. Comes up.
What I found ironic is one of the 4 important points is schools, and we never address it anywhere. But that's okay.
Where was that in terms of just schools in general?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
back and it cites the 4 key elements.
This one here.
No, back.
That's what comes from being in a
Right there.
K-12 regional
Okay.
district.
Right. Anyway,
I think that's mentioned at other times, but you raise a good point, Bob.
it's water under the bridge, over the dam.
Yep.
It's- And if we get into that, we're not going to get into that. End of discussion.
Someone had noted correctly that we had a sentence appear twice. We changed this intentions to kind of reduce economic development input to encourage additional housing opportunities. So that was recommended, and that was in the packet. So board members should have seen that.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it didn't show up as a cut and move. But what I tried to do was this sentence at the top was mixed in somewhere else. So I pulled it out and put it in front of this chart because I think this was when the committee talks about the 4 core values. And so it just gives a little introduction to this chart, which I thought helped kind of identify that. And then change the select board. And then mentioned a report, so that clarified that sentence. And I think once I accept all the edits, this sewer expansion and wastewater treatment will move up and it won't appear on the same page. I did have one issue, there was a suggestion to consolidate the last two elements on the right are both 2022. This was like a pre-made Canva graphic that I don't have access to. So I apologize, but I think I'm gonna have to probably just keep it like this for simplicity.
I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, no
That's
problem.
fine.
I
Hey,
think it was a good suggestion, but I was struggling to find the original file and I couldn't.
Not worth the trouble. Thank you, Jeff. That was my question or my
Okay.
comment. So
Jeff,
appreciate that
one
you thought about
one additional comment.
Sure.
We talk about planning between 2006 and now. We don't talk about anything that is, or take credit for anything that is going before. And I think one sentence would solve that, and that is that comprehensive planning in Bolton has gone as far back as 1971 with the comprehensive plan developed for the town.
Okay.
You know, a very simple statement that shows that the town has been thinking about this for a very long time.
Okay.
We have copies of that out on the drive.
I
So
think he's
after the
thinking of
first
more
sentence-
where to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think
after
where.
the first sentence, maybe.
Yeah,
Would you mind summarizing that again, Robert?
yeah, that the overall comprehensive planning approach in Bolton has gone back for a very long period of time, starting with the 1971 comprehensive plan. Which
And I
incidentally,
think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Ken.
I think that something like this sentence is
Mhm.
included in the existing conditions,
Okay.
because I remember reading it somewhere. But this is fine. What were you gonna say, Bob?
No, that's fine. I mean, the title is since publication of
efforts.
2006 master plan. But I think it's important to remind people that this didn't come about just because of the state mandate, that Bolton on its own had been thinking very seriously about this
Right.
for a very long time.
What do you think is the best way to handle this at this point? Do you want me to try to wordsmith it right now, or do you want to have another version?
No, I mean, one sentence just to highlight.
Okay.
No, I think that's fine.
I think that's
What you
it.
have there works for me.
Yeah, it works for me.
And I think somewhere there has been some discussion of some of the other things that have been done.
Yeah,
I mean, there
think
was
so
a
too, but I
long
couldn't
range
remember.
planning committee in 99 and 2000 timeframe that produced material that was important in doing the master plan, frankly. And so it goes, back into the 70s, as noted. So
Yeah, I
I
think
think
you just
that's
want
fine.
yeah, I don't think we have to revisit everything that has ever been done since 71, but just say, hey, it started a long time ago. Here it is.
Right, right.
Great.
No, this is fine.
And incidentally, everybody should read that master plan. It's very, very interesting about what problems it identified that are now very consistent with what we're looking at.
No pigs?
Does that mean we failed, Bob?
No, we made a lot of progress,
Oh, that's good.
but people are outstripping the progress.
That's true.
And then so here, I'm just gonna make
Good.
some notes while we're going. I have a hard time kind of doing this in real time, so I really apologize. But I'm gonna make a note
That's
here
fine.
to
Take the same information,
Yeah,
Right.
or duplicate what you talked about earlier, because it is a duplication of it, so that's fine.
Correct. And so I'll pull that, what I guess what I'm
Right in
gonna have to
here.
do is make some final edits. But I think if the committee, at the end of this conversation, if you're comfortable, I think you could like authorize me to make those edits, and then we'll have that, the flexibility to just send that off to you. Like I would probably
That
do that
sounds fine.
tomorrow, actually. This,
That sounds fine.
this is where there was an insertion about the table summarizes the key data and demographics. And then,
Oh, do you want to just change the reviewed to found?
yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Same as
because
the,
this was a repeat as the other, so just take
Yeah.
what you worked on earlier in the evening and plug it in here.
exactly.
Plug in
Yep,
all the
the
changes that occurred there in the
Yep.
footnotes as well as in the percentages and stuff in the other thing.
Got it.
Cool.
Sorry. This was kind of one of a couple examples of inserting a quick introduction of the maps. And this is I believe this is the map,
Yeah, that's the one they wanted
the boundary to be
town boundary to be darker.
Yeah.
It's there, you just can't really see it.
There was just a comma missing there. Define what SWAT stands for, so that was very good. That's the kind of thing you don't always pick up on after seeing this stuff. Right before this meeting, my mouse died, and then so now I'm doing this with the laptop mouse, which is very tricky.
Oh my goodness. That's not good.
There were not a lot of changes, so it was more towards the end.
Right.
So I thought this was a good suggestion. There was kind of this reference to housing choice where it was already defined in the couple of paragraphs beforehand. So just took that out for simplicity. I think that was
Thank you.
great. Yeah, that was a great observation. This was just a minor change to one of the actions, but it was important. So investigate allowing higher density housing on smaller lots in the residential district while encouraging the preservation of open space. So that was a requested addition.
Near and dear to my heart.
Mhm, amen.
This is the farm stand map. Does it make sense to chat about this briefly while we're at the map?
We have sufficiently knowledgeable people involved to have an intelligent conversation.
There's
Wasn't
a
it
couple-
Kristen and Panny that were working on
Yeah,
it? And neither is on this call, so probably not.
Okay. I mean, I think what I emailed Pam earlier, I mean, we are committed to helping adjust the map once there's a couple farms that are no longer operational, and so we'll take those out. And if there's other farms that you want to see added, as long as we have an address, we can plug them in, and
Yeah.
we're happy to make that change. And I think we'll be out of our contract, we'll be done, but we'll still work on that. We'll send it to you so that it can be put into the document as you guys go to the planning board. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Just keep going.
Yeah, it looks like the big ones are on it from my perspective.
Yeah, there was a couple, it sounded like there were a couple obvious ones that maybe were not operational anymore, that it would be good to get them off if nothing else. There was a mention about the scenic road bylaw. It doesn't apply to private property along a scenic road and has had limited effectiveness regarding utility work, which I think is unfortunately something that's been seen across the board.
Yep.
But I
That's
think it
great.
makes sense to make a note in there. So here there were two open space maps. The first one is showing the location and type of protected properties throughout the town, and so that was kind of inserted as a description. And then the recreational map shows the location and type of recreational properties in the town. So that's the same language. I tried to be efficient and use the same language in the map cover page and pull it through here just to give the reader that snapshot of what that map is. So those, again, those were really good suggestions. The municipal facilities, this was where I don't know who it was. I apologize, but one of your town officials went through, mentioned the archival storage and operations, so the lack of space for that. Mentioning the and this might have been Ken, but or someone, but the wired meeting room named after that person, additional deficiencies in the building, and then HVAC issues. So those were pretty good specific edits that we got. Decentralized wastewater, we talked about that one at the last meeting. And I will be going through and making sure that tiny little edits or anything that's spell check will be corrected. Those are Scrivener's type of things we'll be looking at. So I think for the most part,
Hey, Jeff, I just want to say it is a good day when somebody uses the term Scrivener's error in conversation.
there's only a certain crowd who that actually means something.
Where's Kate Turabian when we need her?
An introduction to the municipal and facilities and services map. And then the water resources risk and protection map got an introduction, which I think is good, because I think Ken made a good point that someone made a good point that some of these just were hanging out there. Couple real minor things. Route 17 at 495. That we went over that last time, I think.
Yeah,
Pam
we did.
shared a screen and we did that. The select board correction, and there was a road mentioned. Let's see if I can find, yeah. So I wanted to ask. My notes were back and forth about which road it was, and I looked on some maps, and it looks like Brown Road comes over, and it's just a tiny section in Bolton, and then it's Whitcomb Road.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I think
That's
this is where we ended up.
Stick with Whitman.
Okay.
Wait, so
Yeah.
guys, but wait a second. Wickham is a dead end, right?
It is. That's
So
right.
how can Brown attach to it?
Well, it goes into Harvard, but it's still a dead end road. But at the very last few feet, it's in the town of Harvard, oddly enough. And it has the name Brown.
Oh,
It's weird. It's
But that's
is
where we want
bizarre.
pedestrian and bicycle connections? That seems like,
oh god.
That's where participants map them. So that this is referring to the
Yeah, it's strange.
or the wish list.
because Brown, I thought Brown connected to Corn,
That's what I
like
thought
Brown
too.
Road in Harvard.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, so that that's not making sense to me.
And
I
Brown and
forgive.
Corn would make
I'm not
sense
trying to-
for cyclists.
I'm looking at a map right now. I get
same
because
here.
that
I would say Corn Road. And if
that's what I
if
thought.
if the intention is that it tie into Brown, then I would say Corn.
And that would make sense because a lot of people bike up through there into Harvard, and it's like that's a
Right.
through road. That is not a
Right.
not a
If
dead
if
end.
you look at the map, lo and behold, the Brown Road segment in Bolton coming off of Whitcomb would have, were there not a 495,
Yeah.
would have linked over to the Brown Road in Harvard,
Okay.
where Horn Road ends. So you just visually need to see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, I just
Brown
looked it up
Road-
on Google Maps too.
Is a dead end for cycling and makes no sense from a cycling standpoint.
Right.
You could
Yeah,
saw
so why don't we say Corn, because that does make sense.
right for Bolton's exactly in Bolton's
just-
context, Corn Road is appropriate.
Yeah, just say Corn Road and then you're good.
Yep.
So literally like corn. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Sorry, I had to ask because my notes got. I tried really
Yeah.
hard to like have good notes and I couldn't figure that one out.
Well, I've lived here all my life and I couldn't figure it out, Jeff. So that's, thank you for begging the question, and I've learned something. And I do see it now, Ed, to your point, Brown Road kind of dog legs off into a dead end against 495 in Harvard, but then you've got Brown Road continuing on Wickham on the
Yeah,
other
it's
side.
like
But
the old Burnham Road.
yeah,
Off by
exactly.
495.
Okay. But for the sake of cycling, bigger picture, yes, Corn Road to Brown makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Okay,
Great.
amen.
Yep, that's great. This 7.1.1 traffic corridor study was one of the town officials' comments from last time. And then we put in a picture of, I found this, we put a picture of town meeting. I think it's kind of representative of implementation. And then really this paragraph that the section defines and schedules the specific municipal actions necessary to achieve the goals and objectives set forth in each element. The matrix is intended to be a guide that is flexible in its application over the next 20 years. The goals and actions listed in each section can, this was a little bit of my extrapolating the conversation, but the goals and actions can morph or evolve over time, and the exact objective to achieve goals may change based on community input or funding. So I wanted to make sure that the committee agreed with that. You know, I think the conversation that we're having in other communities is the best example is with climate change and climate resiliency. Those, for example, are terms that 7 or 8 years ago were not really highly utilized.
Right.
So that's the kind of morph and evolve that we are seeing. But I think the goals that you have translate. So if there's a new phrasing for some of these, the other example is nature-based solutions. You know, that terminology only came about in the last couple of years. And so I was just trying to highlight that this is a guide. Some of the terms may change over time, but the essence of them really doesn't. And so that's useful. And then the groups responsible for implementation may also change depending on interest and capacity. So we talked about that in terms of the Agricultural Commission.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the example was your Economic Development Committee might have interest and capacity to take it on. And then, you know, later the Agricultural Commission might form again and take the responsibilities back. So the exact, you know, who exactly implements over the long term isn't that important in terms of the future, in terms of comparing it to what's in the chart right now. So that was the best I could do, and we can talk about that. I think that's really the last change that I had gotten from the committee. And then I don't know if I need to, but I can share my screen for the list of maps. That's really the last component of the kind of what we did at the last meeting.
Yeah, why don't we just go through that very briefly, Joe?
Okay. So formatting wise, it's not very pretty, but I tried to really keep it to one page because I think otherwise it distracts from the actual maps, which is the key thing. But again, I tried to keep the phrasing the same, where it just starts with the word shows. I had another version where I restated the map name, and in some cases I had illustrates or and then shows really seems to be the word of what the map does. It shows these things. And then wherever I could, like for the first one, the regional context, it's really talked about in the demographic information section of the existing conditions plan. The rest of them, they start to flow. Existing conditions report are the first like 6 maps or so. Actually, a lot of them are in the existing conditions map up until like number 10, the impaired water bodies. That's where it's discussed in chapter 4 of the master plan. So that wherever I could pinpoint where the map was discussed, I tried to put it in there.
One suggestion,
Sure.
could you bold rather, the name of the map?
Yes, that would be very easy. Yes.
It's just finding things quickly.
I It's a good list, though. I like that.
It's
Yeah,
a very
I
good
like
list.
that too.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, yep, so bolding it's fine, and then, so then the other map work that we'll do is we'll outline Bolton in the regional context map, and then I'm gonna be on vacation next week, but then the week after that, if there's any additional information about the farm stand map, we will make those changes and then get that to you. But Pam had indicated that sort of a final version, the version of this stage of the process is required to be submitted to the state. What was your deadline for that, Pam, did you say?
July 15th, we have to submit the product of the grant award
Okay.
to the state. But that doesn't mean it can't change.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a stagnant version of the master plan. We just have to show that we produced the document with the grant funds.
Yeah,
So
with the
that's
edits
by
you've
July
made,
15th? July
Yeah.
15th, you said? Okay.
Yes.
but with the edits you've made to date, I think that certainly would meet the requirements of the grant.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree. Yep.
Right. And you don't seem like the type of person who wants to wait till that last day. So
No, don't, please.
I think these edits I'm going to be making tomorrow, and I'll fix the table of contents, and I'll have this first version all done. And then I think, if Pam, it's up to you, but if you want to submit that, and we can rework the map, and we can just give you that file.
That'd be
Sort of.
great.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's a good game plan.
Thank you, Jeff.
I think you guys did all the work, and I appreciate it. It's really fun to see it, and I don't want to take too much of the credit. I'm really just helping kind of get you guys over the finish line. Olivia did a lot of this, and then your committee, I really want to just say it again. I mean, the amount of organization and effort that you guys have is really great. You should be happy about that and proud of yourselves, because it doesn't really happen that way everywhere. So
Let me also
Thanks,
just
Bob.
let me interject. Yeah, I was just gonna say, let me give special thanks to Bob, who has
Yes.
truly been a fearless, dedicated, wonderful leader for these many years. So thank you, Bob.
I
And,
second that.
of course, Pam, thank you so much too. But I have to highlight Bob because he's
Of
really
course.
yeah.
Wow, this 15-month job is finally over. But I think, to your point, Brian, if it hadn't been for Zoom, a lot of this wouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, well, we'll send a thank you to Zoom. Maybe we'll get a cut on my next subscription.
Mm.
Okay,
So do we need anything else or just a motion to adjourn?
well, you need just that.
How about,
Do we?
can we discuss the planning board presentation as we move forward? Just quickly. The planning board, we're gonna present the PowerPoint, which we've discussed. I wasn't sure how involved the committee wanted to be in seeing the presentation before we go to the planning board meeting, and I was expecting some of you to want to attend, though it's not required, certainly.
When
So
is
I
it,
think
Pam?
I think both of the above should happen.
Both,
I
yeah,
think we need a brief meeting of the master plan steering committee. We'll run through the presentation, and then I do think it would be very appropriate to have as many members of the steering committee in the planning board meeting as possible.
So when are those meetings scheduled, or is the planning board meeting scheduled?
not the specific date, but we were looking at the week of August 19th, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And they were flexible on when they met based on the master plan's availability as well. So we'll get some dates out, maybe do a doodle poll and see what works for the most number of
Yeah,
people.
that was cool. That was neat.
And my requirement was that it be at least 1 week after the Bolton Fair.
Yeah,
I would need a rest.
Mm.
I'm sorry, 1 week after the fair?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah. And that'll be the week of the 19th.
What night
Well,
do they usually meet? Is it Thursday?
Wednesday at 7.
Okay.
So Are you creating the presentation, Bob, or is it
Pam and I
Effort.
are jointly.
okay? And are you gonna circulate it, or do you want to have a meeting to discuss
I
it?
thought we would circulate it and then meet to discuss.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone. Congratulations. You've been working on this for a long time.
Amen.
We have to go
Been a
back and let
long,
Dirk
long
and
haul.
Boy.
So now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you, Brian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Happy 4th
Aye.
of July, everybody.
Yes, happy
Right.
summer. Take care. Travel safe, Bob.
Good night.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have
like
a
we
good
should-
vacation,
Thanks
Jeff.
so much, Jeff.
There he is.
Thank you. Pam too. Happy vacation.
Yay.